need
How
to
long
go.
are you here till then?
And we could be out of like, well, we will be out of Salt Lake in a few months, luckily. But we kept saying, okay, to go on with the major, we could live back east somewhere, and I just kept saying, we need to be by family. If you're gonna be gone anyway, I need a support system, you know?
You'll be done about 4:30.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're recording now, so
Okay.
we're ready to go.
We're set
Cool,
up.
we have enough
It's
juice
rolling.
Good.
in there?
We have enough juice.
Okay.
It's on my drive here, so
Okay, so just
it's
stop.
recording. So when you're all done,
Stop.
just hit stop.
And wait for the flashing light to stop.
Cabin.
Yeah, so you can hit stop and then
Okay.
record everything.
And it's
Pull it out.
seeing
It's
everything.
got-
It's everything up on the screen.
Okay.
And so the Bob's here in the building.
Okay.
We're just upstairs.
2:15 over here.
Three areas.
And then we'll get it off. You're done about 4:30, you said?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll come down about then. just,
Okay.
Health administration,
perfect.
zoology, and nutrition.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, thank
So
you.
we get a recording and it looks just like that screen with the video up in that corner.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yep.
So I think I had things kind of messed up, like in week 9 I had due before the break, and I think I don't know, is this week 9 or 10? It seems like this is supposed to be week 9.
I don't know for
Why
sure.
do we always have to have a break in the middle? Because I get so messed up.
I know. It was a great break, but I kind of wish just to keep going and get done a week early. But that's okay. I don't know where we're at, really. I haven't been thinking about it for a week.
Well, if there's a problem with the due dates, just talk to me and I will be understanding, because obviously I don't know what's going on either.
Okay.
So, welcome. Do you guys have any questions? I guess we can kind of get into it and see if your questions are answered.
Okay.
I think besides talking about writing your prospectus today, talking about forming your committee is, you know, it's a big deal, because it's really a problem, an obstacle that most people have, because it's so much out of your control if everyone someone's busy, or you're having a hard time getting a hold of someone, or maybe one or two aren't agreeing on how you want to do things.
Okay.
But usually it's just getting a hold of them and getting an okay, or getting them to give you some feedback. So planning ahead for those things, and not just saying, okay, I need it by next Tuesday, you know, giving them time. And we'll talk about that with your prospectus, is that you put it in your timeline when they're going to get their first draft and when you hope to have your oral defense by, so they can see that if you're on time, that you are serious about getting that defense done at a certain time, and they can hopefully plan accordingly. And if life happens, which it usually does, as long as you're communicating well with them, it will work out, hopefully. So, who you can ask for your committee, ask current or former professors, one from each area. If they aren't available, ask them if they could refer you to someone that they think might be able to help you. We're having a problem with the art department right now. People just say no, or they're uninterested. It does not have to be a faculty member of Weber State, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a professor. It needs to be someone who is very knowledgeable in your area. So we say a master's, but we've accepted a master's student as possible. If there's a question, you can always run it by me or Mike Sina. But it's good to know that you don't have to have someone from Weber State. If you don't know any of your professors, such as if you are only an online student, a good place to start is calling your department secretary. They know everyone's load, what they teach, and the ones who are too swamped to try, those who have been on a lot of BIS committees and who are more open to it perhaps. You can find out the professor's office hours and try to make an appointment with them, or just try emailing. BIS sends out several documents explaining what a BIS capstone project is and what is expected of them if the faculty members aren't familiar with what a BIS project is and what all is involved. You can send it to them before they commit to be on your committee, If you want, just let us know and we can send it to them. You can communicate with your committee early on in drafting your prospectus to get ideas and direction. You will get advice at your prospectus meeting, but if you're struggling how to execute your project to get the results you want, your committee members are great to be consulting with throughout the process of planning how to complete your project. And the best case scenario, really, Kevin here has been talking with his 3 areas because he wasn't sure what direction that he really wanted to go, and so now I think he's getting closer about what concept he wants to do. He'll write up his prospectus and then they can give him more feedback from there. People who have, I had a student last summer who is finishing school because she wants to eventually become a lawyer, but she wants to combat elderly financial abuse, and she chose women's studies, I think it was gerontology, maybe sociology. I think it was those 3. Anyway, she came to school because she had a topic. And you're kind of back here, Roberta, because you have a topic with neglected children. And so that's kind of what brought you to BIS. And so you have a better idea, whereas maybe someone who just loves these 3 areas but they can't decide on a topic. So either way, I think it's good to be talking to your committee early on, but don't feel sunk if you haven't, especially since your prospectus is due in 2 weeks, is that right?
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, I'm not gonna just say, give it back to you with a bunch of red marks and say good luck. The reason why it's week 11 that it's due is because I'm going to give you a lot of feedback and say, this isn't clear to me. What about this, and this, and when are you going to do these things to get to this point? Because it seems like you're missing out a few steps.
And how long is the prospectus?
It's usually 4 pages, 5 pages. I've seen it as long as 9 or 10 pages, but it was because it was the OUR prospectus that they want more details. And so I didn't make that student rewrite it since it had all the details that I needed for this assignment. So it doesn't have to be super detailed, but it just needs to be enough. We'll talk about in a minute what the background is, why it's important, and then the how, and setting some dates. And it doesn't have to be specific. It can be like certain parts of the month that you want to have. Start on this, be done with this, and this is when I'll need this committee member's help, and this is when I'm going to give you my first draft after it's gone through the Writing Center. So that's why I'm having you put the prospectus through the Writing Center, just to know the process and that you can submit it online. Have you gone in person? You can submit it online and they get it back to you within 2 days, I think. So working with your committee once you've forwarded it. There will be obstacles in communicating with 3 busy professors. Allow ample time for your support paper and project to get revisions. Usually 2 or 3 revisions is what you need to plan for. Make sure you use the Writing Center for your support paper before you submit it to your committee to help with any grammar, flow, and ensure it's written in the format that you've chosen with your committee. You'll choose which format you're going to do with your committee at your prospectus meeting. So if it's APA, MLA, Chicago style. And the question has been, what if one professor wants me to write it in one format, and what if it should be that it should be in a format that will help you in your future career. So if you're in psychology or the medical profession, it's usually APA. If I think it's English, it's MLA. And I'm not sure what Chicago does, which area, but it needs to be what makes sense for you. But the Writing Center is excellent. They will help you with the formatting stuff, because really I've been on enough committees that it really is a drag to have to help out with formatting, when really my job is to help with content and with the ideas and with the optimization of your project, more than making your support paper look polished, but but then I don't want it to look terrible because it's going to be a part of the library with my name on it, you know. So please use the Writing Center. So this will allow your committee to focus on content instead of technicalities. Turn your first draft after revisions from the Writing Center to your committee chair. This is something you don't have to have a committee chair, but it could be someone that you are naturally talking to the most. So, Kevin, it might be Corey Moss. Is that who you've been talking to most?
Yep.
So after it's gone to the Writing Center, and this is something that I recommended more before we said it has to go through the Writing Center. Just if the committee chair can just help you with the major revisions like format and that kind of thing. But if it's been through the Writing Center, you could still just do your committee chair, but I don't think they would have as many, you know, technicalities to work with if you've already cleaned it up after the Writing Center. So you can do it to send it to your committee chair first, or just all three of them. Let's see where I am. Where am I? Turn the second revision into your entire committee and follow up to see if they receive your materials 3 to 4 days later if you haven't heard from them. Sometimes it just gets buried in the rest of their emails. And I answer texts all the time with like my head, but I didn't actually do it. So they might think they got back to you, but they didn't, and so a gentle reminder is totally okay. It is important for you to communicate when you intend to hold your oral defense. If you hold to your schedule in submitting your project materials and support paper to your committee, it will hold a stronger argument about your intentions to hold to that oral defense date, giving your committee ample time to help you reach that goal. When you haven't heard from one of your committee members, try alternate forms of communication, such as phone messages or dropping by during their office hours. Like we talk about in the success strategies, I think for week 10, it's okay to communicate, although your nature may lead you to believe it's annoying. The nature of being a part of a team or a committee requires communication, and sometimes your emails simply get buried with all the other emails that require immediate attention for your committee members. Your committee knows they are responsible to help you, and reminders and following up are needed and appreciated. Remember that time management, being organized, and regular communication are key to your successful completion and optimal project outcome. Meeting with your committee for your Prospectus meeting by the end of this semester is not required. That's a common question. However, it is strongly recommended to meet as soon as possible just to keep things going with your ideas and getting feedback and communicating with your committee so that you can get started with your project. Whether it's the break over Christmas or an upcoming summer, whether or not you're going to be doing your project, you can at least be doing your lit review or getting things scheduled if you're doing something service oriented, or getting your educational materials together. So now that we've blown through that, is there any questions?
Are we being recorded?
Yeah, but they don't see ya.
Okay. I just don't want to ask stupid questions.
Oh.
I'm just trying to get my brain like a timeline of everything. So we can meet with them. Ideally, we would meet with them before the end of the semester, it sounds like.
Ideally, at least start talking and getting them together and telling them your ideas.
Mm-hmm. So I have asked 3, and they've accepted.
Mm-hmm.
That's as far as I've gotten.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'll write my perspectives to give that to them, and then meet for ideas, or?
Well, you give them your prospectus before, and you all meet. Some students are long distance, and so they just do a conference call, or you can even do like a Skype or a FaceTime conference type of thing. There's actually some other technology where you can just hear everybody, and you can see one person's screen or something.
Okay.
So it's screen sharing. There's like Big Blue Button. There's different things that you could do, like a 14-day trial or something.
Okay.
Anyway, so after they've read your prospectus, they ask you questions if something isn't clear, and then they give you suggestions if if they think that maybe you could do it an easier or better way. And that's a part of what we'll talk about too is at the end of your prospectus you have one article from each area just to show them where you've gotten started on your lit review, on what you're going to have as the theoretical underpinnings of your project. They say, oh well, there are seminal articles for studies that would support what you're doing, and you know they would give you a lot of other references that would really support what you're doing. So I don't know, because they have a better feel for your areas.
Right.
I went and talked to a librarian like 2 weeks ago too about sources, and they were way helpful.
Oh,
They
really?
really good stuff. I went and saw, I think it's, Jason Francis. He's
Yeah.
the medical one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he knows tons of stuff.
Yeah, he's looked up some really specific articles for me. So, for sure, use your librarians. That's been like the biggest thing to tell students is that would have been nice for me to know.
Mm-hmm.
We have librarians that can help you do some legwork or help you find specific things so that it's not just because you thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
And you can use textbooks and different things, but make sure that you have a good balance of, because textbooks still are professional literature, but make sure you use kind of a good variety. So the next thing I was going to talk about, I guess we can talk about this article. It's a Forbes article, and I like it because it's about leadership. It's about leadership, and I include this in here because being over your committee shows leadership, and at the end, hopefully you're going to try to get letters of recommendation from them. So you're not a student anymore, you're a student who is heading up this project that hopefully you're passionate about. They're there to support you. So they're not there to say, hey, you know, if they don't hear from you, they don't hear from you. If you don't complete it, you don't complete it. So not only are you a self-starter, but I think the better the leadership qualities that you show them, the better letter of recommendation obviously you will get. And so these qualities mainly are for like a boss, but I can easily adapt it to being over your committee. So you make others feel safe to speak up. Maybe that's more for if you are a leader, but I think that goes for having a really good line of communication and being humble to take direction and going to them often. Making decisions. Don't get stuck on the little stuff. Don't waste time on issues that disrupt your momentum. Communicate your expectations. That has everything to do with your prospectus. So if you're going to communicate that well, they can know when it is you need them and what it is they need to do for you, and it doesn't have to be a guess for them. Challenge people to think. I think that one applies for your committee as far as the questions that you ask to show that you really want to understand your topic well. Be accountable to others. They are signing your prospectus contract, so they are accountable to you, but you need to keep your end by keeping in touch with them and keeping to your timeline. So, and I think lead by example is kind of like the accountable. I mean, they're not going to be super accountable to you if you're not keeping to your deadlines. Measure reward and performance. Maybe that's more if you're a boss. provide continuous feedback, and I think if you get continuous feedback from them, again, having that collaborative relationship. Properly allocate and deploy talent. I think this has to do with your prospectus and during your whole project, knowing where you need people to help you to strengthen your project, that you're not going to go it alone, but you know that for a certain topic or a certain part, this person is really good at research, so you're going to need them for this time period to do this. And so you're going to optimize it by knowing where the strengths are. Ask questions, seek counsel, avoid procrastination. Like Mike said, work on your project 10 minutes a day. Getting ahead in life is about doing the things that most people don't like doing. Positive energy and attitude, I think that's going to be huge in how well of your letter of recommendation is that this is something that you're passionate about and that you've put forth a lot of energy for. So being a great teacher, it could be that you're learning a lot, because keep in mind that, let's see, I have a student last semester that she's in music, history, and I think it's sociology, but she wants to be a music, ethnomologist, or it's about understanding the culture in different time periods through their music. So she was going to study about Germany after World War II, how it influenced the music. But then her other professors who she was trying to get onto her committee said, well, I don't know anything about history, or I don't know, and she's like, I'm your integrative point, you know, just help me with the music part, just help me with these other 2 points. So you might be educating, well, yeah, it is multifaceted, but it's supposed to be. And so that's kind of an exciting reason why others like to be on BIS, is that there's so many different combinations that it's kind of fun to have a taste of these topics with the experts. So you can be a teacher, but again, be a good learner having them on your committee. Invest in your relationships. I think this is just kind of a social etiquette. Obviously, it's not all business. It's okay to be polite, and they're people, and they are giving you their time. And I think it's very appropriate for you to give them a thank you card at the end. And genuinely enjoy your responsibilities. This kind of reminds me of my 6-year-old son. He just keeps saying, oh, that's too hard. You make us work all the time. I'm like, I'm trying to train you to put your shoes away and your coat. Do you see how I don't stop working all day long? I keep telling him, if you enjoy to work, you will love your life. If you don't, you will probably hate it. So your project is going to take a lot of work, and you may as well enjoy it. And again, that will reflect well on your letter of recommendation and only make your process of your project more enjoyable. So you can see it's more towards the working side, but you can see kind of how it relates to leading your committee. Any questions or comments on that? So I was going to show you just 2 rubrics that we use for, oh, that's too big. Two rubrics that we use during your oral defense. So the first one is Mike Cena usually is in there, sometimes I am, but you go out of the room and we say to your 3 professors, how well did this student have an interdisciplinary work for their project, whereas they knew deeply 3 perspectives on a narrow topic. And you see it just kind of goes down. This isn't how they grade it per se, a lot like to do right in between the 3 and 4 sometimes, but like overall they'll say, but I still want them to have an A, you know? So it just kind of is more for our records and for our data collection to know kind of where we need to teach you more in preparing to do the project. So the capstone project experience and report, the student identifies an issue, topic, or creative process and creates a capstone experience that shows a depth of understanding, learning, and involvement through a well-crafted written report. So, just that. I guess I don't need to. So the knowledge, skills, and research base, the student effectively uses, synthesizes, and reports key research, theory, or skills from 3 disciplines in the capstone area. And that kind of goes back to this first one, that you have a depth of understanding from your 3 areas. And honestly, this depends on how well you're going to use your committee, because if they grade you down here but they didn't ever give you any suggestions about other theories that they thought you should use, I mean, that could be a question that you have for them. But there are instances where you're on a committee where they want you to be done because you've dragged it out and you haven't communicated well, and they're not going to pass you, or they're just going to give you a seat, you know. Invest in your relationship and communicate well.
So who do we get our grade from?
It's from the
Sina
committee.
Is there and you're there?
Well, it's usually Dr. Sina. I sometimes go.
Okay.
But it's your committee.
Give me the final grade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They're the ones that, so that's why I can tell you suggestions and things, but at the end of the day, if your committee isn't very picky about something, or if they're really picky, I mean, it's just going to depend.
Do they have a rubric to use? They have.
Yeah.
They have this.
Dr. Sina goes through this with them, and then they kind of say, okay, based on this, how do you feel? What grade are you thinking? Because they kind of go in there thinking kind of what grade, and then they see these parameters. I think we send this to them, and this is actually in BIS 3800 in the first documents as well. So this is something that you could give to your committee anytime, but I'm pretty sure we send it to you, but we for sure have it at the oral defense. So the methods or creativity, we went through that. So the student creates and implements robust methods for studying or creating a powerful capstone project. So the methods, you could come up with your own research methods or your creativity process if it's a service learning or a creative project. The analysis or the results, your conclusions of your project. You effectively analyze, summarize, or create artifacts that demonstrate superior learning or creativity. And then, of course, we have to grade on grammar, syntax, and mechanics. So you're going to get a lot stronger in this area if you go through the writing center and don't have to lean on your committee a lot for the syntax and grammar and format issues. And hopefully the last 2 semesters, having you turn in your prospectus to the writing center is hopefully changing that so that it's stronger. This is the other one. It's professional attributes, and it's something that I grade you on for 3800, but it's not something I actually fill out unless there's a concern. That's what I've been doing anyway. Maybe that's my bad. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. But it's basically that you kind of have a knowledge about your 3 areas, the practical skills, Ethical and social responsibility, collegiality, I can kind of tell by how you're talking with your peers and how well professional you are with me. The responsibility that you're turning things in on time. Resourceful, this is that they don't have to hold your hand for everything, that you can problem solve and you can do a lot of things on your own, at least once they tell you how to do it, if it is something new, like if you're doing primary research. But I fill this out and Dr. Sina talks to you if there's a concern, because that worries me if you'll be able to work with your committee very well. We've had students that don't get along very well with your committee, and it's, you know, they're not going to complete if they don't get along with who they're going to, you know, who's going to grade them. So unless I talk to you by the end of the semester, don't worry about it. And this rubric is something that I just need to add one thing to. So I'll show you this rubric and then I'll show you an example. So these are the headings that should be in your prospectus. Start out, I mean, you can put your name at the top in the class, but say your thesis question, just because I think it's more to the point for your professors to see. I mean, they can find it within the paper, it just makes it clearer. So begin with your thesis question and then a paragraph that explains what the topic is you'll be doing. This paragraph should also include some background information that led you to this topic. So what is it you're planning to do is what you should answer. Then the significance of why this is significant. Explain why it is a significant and important topic for you to pursue. In this section, your committee will want to know what you're doing, what will add to rather than just repeat knowledge. Also explain how your 3 areas of emphasis will be integrated into this single project. So usually I say health administration, nutrition, zoology, and say I'll use this theory and these 30 theories and this. And then those from those areas can say, I see your topic, maybe you could use these theories as well. So it kind of articulates what you're thinking. And again, you haven't done your lit review yet. You could probably find more, but at least it's the start of how you think you're going to be using your areas into that topic. Your project plan, this is your longest section, how you plan to achieve your capstone goal. This will be your longest section, as you'll outline the steps you will take to complete the project. Be clear and specific in this section. Include information regarding whom you will work with, where you will go, what sources of information you will use, and how long each step is anticipated to take. So you can say up front, I hope to graduate spring of 2016. I will be doing my service learning project probably by the first part of spring 2016. So I will be doing my lit review and getting my resources. Maybe you're doing an educational resource and you're going to be writing them, and expect to hear from me throughout the summer to get some feedback on those materials. I'll be setting up the date. This is who I'll talk to. This is who I want to do it through. This is when you can expect my first draft of my support paper after it's gone through the Writing Center. But back up, you can say, I want my educational materials to have been approved before this date. Some people have a more complex project where it's not just teaching, but maybe they are going to be doing some research with it, so they need IRB approval by this date, and they need to create some consents. Usually for the IRB application, you need to submit what the consent looks like and what the surveys will look like, so that they can see that everything is not going to be harmful to perhaps a vulnerable population, like with the neglected children that you work with. That would definitely be a vulnerable
IRB
population.
is what?
And
International Review Board.
yeah, it's working with, it's getting primary research with humans participants. So
Oh, yes, that's right.
so mostly, like they say, the disabled, those inmates, prison inmates, the pregnant people, children, or just any medical disability. Those are usually, like, that's an umbrella, but the rest, it's just always safe to just say, do I need, just get in contact with them, because it's best to have your bases covered. So that's a big reason why I have you have it so early turned into me, is that there are maybe a lot of steps that you may have not thought of, and that's another layer that's going to go through is your committee to ask other questions of things that, because they're the experts in the area. I'm not. I just kind of can maybe think of some things that might be missing. So your final project, explain clearly what your final product will look like. It could be a 25 to 30 page research paper, or perhaps a website with a 10-page support paper, or a portfolio divided into different sections. Specify how many pages the final product will probably be, and how many resources you'll get per area, and it has to be at least 2 to 3 per area for any project. But as you've noticed in the different chapters as we've gone through the different projects, it's told you if you're doing a secondary research, it's 7 to 9, and I believe it's 5 to 7 if it's a primary research, and then it's 2 to 3 if it's creative project or service learning. And then what I need to add to this that I expect you to have is, for week 11, you let me know 3 sources that you will be using for your project. So what are your 3 again, Roberta?
Criminal justice, child and family, and psych.
Okay, so you would have one for each of those that would apply to your project.
A resource.
And underneath, you can say it in parentheses or not, just say this applies by, I found this to be applicable because, and so it can kind of help them see kind of how you've gotten started. And some will list 2 or 3 resources. I'm not going to mark you down for that. So let's look at an example. Let's see, I think this one just doesn't have the references. So what I liked about hers, there's a few things. She doesn't have her thesis. So you can write prospectus and then have your thesis question. And so you don't have to say what type of project, but I like that she was kind of clear right there. She was going to do a creative project. She wanted to put on a junior golf camp that summer. She talked about who she's been talking to, when she wanted to have it done. But from the get-go, she says what the final product would look like. She was saying where it was that she was thinking, what age groups she was going to be looking at, how she was going to advertise, and that she was going to use research articles to make her pamphlets, and kind of the why. She thought that working with young children is important for their development. And it kind of gives her a background of, she chose this topic because she's been a golfer since she was 6, and it helped her in many aspects of life. She wishes to share that knowledge with others. And why she intends to do it, this can tell your professors that it's going to help you with your future career, and you know that it's your passion. And here's where she lists her 3 areas: early childhood education. It will be incorporated by working with young children and teaching them in developmentally appropriate ways. Recreation is the golf. Sales and service is making the pamphlet and website and selling her services and providing her knowledge. Her step-by-step plan: she plans to achieve her goal by being organized and setting deadlines. She wants to be done by fall semester. She started her project. She doesn't have exact dates, but she knows that it's going to be in July. She plans on having her pamphlet completed by this day, distributed by the 8th. I'll send you a copy of my pamphlet. And this is a good example. Maybe she should have showed her pamphlet to her committee before she distributed it. So I'll have a website up and running by September, and again, she could have asked her committee members, I want you to look at it before I make it public. PowerPoint with pictures and videos that she made, she was going to make of what happened at the golf camp. She'll submit her support paper by the 31st, and she was going to use the library. She was going to also get information from her golf instructor. And then she says a few questions I hope to answer along the way, which, you know, could be her thesis question. So she's got a few questions here. Final product. That she was going to have a PowerPoint, her advertisement, her paperwork, website, pictures, and video. The 10 to 15 page support paper with 7 scholarly references. So that would be the 2 to 3 per area. And then for this to be complete, she would have had the early childhood development or early childhood education reference, the recreation, and professional sales. So again, you're going to get all your points if you are responsive to me, because again, that's why I have it be due so early, because I want you to be ready for your project. That's the whole purpose of this class, and so we've spent enough time in this semester, hopefully, for you to have a good idea of what you want to do. And if not, we can still brainstorm. There are students who don't get their exact prospectus written, but I say still write up something, and I'm more than happy to help you once you do figure out your topic. Or they just need more time to talk with their committee members to get it pinpointed. So again, communication is key to figure out what it is you want to do, and to refine your prospectus with me, so that hopefully you can get a lot, you know, as much details as you can for your prospectus meeting, and then your committee can ask you questions if they need to. And I have these. You don't like the paper copies, right?
What is it?
It's the forming your committee.
It's the same stuff that's online.
Uh-huh.
Thanks.
So what questions are you having right now?
So once we have our people picked, we go down to the BIS and talk to Beth or whoever's down there to send out a paper to the professors, or not necessarily?
Yeah, you can. You can do it that way. What we do is after you've had your prospectus meeting is they send it to you, like, 'cause you have a form that you have them sign, and then she sends it. But you can ask her, and she can just send it before the prospectus meeting if you want.
I just didn't know when, I didn't know the prospectus hadn't done before that, or ideally is done before that, so.
Yeah, so whenever you have your prospectus meeting, they will sign the contract, and that's something you can find on the BIS homepage. Should we look there? Prospectus meeting form, so capstone resources. That's a little ski-wampus, but so all three of them sign, and then any comments on your prospectus, especially if any changes were discussed and required at this prospectus meeting. So if you want, we can make a copy of it for you, and then we'll put the original or whatever in your file so that you can know what it is you need to change before you get started. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that comes out different when you print it. So.
You click enable editing and edit the format.
Capstone grading guidelines. Let's see, so it's just right here. So you could even send them the link. So that's what we just went through. And then the professional attributes. Yeah, so you could just send them this link. We've changed this all around, so I haven't been playing with this much.
The whole new Weaver State page.
What's that?
Since they got the whole new state page.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while to get used to it too. It's a big pain in the butt the first week or two.
This is if you need to substitute classes, add classes, or delete classes. And here's the internship guidelines. So it seemed like you had pretty narrow idea as far as what I could tell from your thesis questions.
Just patient intervention, potentially like more a one-on-one meeting. I talked to a dietitian that works for Wasatch Care and a few other places, but I already do quite a bit of work over there, so I was going to meet with a dietitian that works at Crestwood and a few other places, and she was supposed to be there Friday, and I showed up and she wasn't there, and she said she'll be there tomorrow, and so hopefully I will talk to her. I don't know if I'm necessarily doing it at Crestwood. It can be nice because it's close to where I live, so I can't transport myself, but Stonehenge is right by, it's a new place just opened up by Ogden Regional, and they only have a contract with Medicare Medicaid so far because they just opened 2 months ago, and Medicare patients might be my main goal because they're in and out more so I could hurry, assess them and be like, okay, you're headed home, what do you kind of tailor a diet plan for them for when they go home, and it depends on who's cooking their meals, and that's why I create each individual package type thing. My biggest thing is just kind of measuring how effective it is. I guess you just have to follow up with the patients. But, how would that work out with IRB though? Because I'm not asking necessarily, I guess there'd be a few certain amount of questions, but I don't know if I'd document it per se.
Right.
But if I
But
did,
you're
then
still measuring if it's effective. It depends on whose perspective you're asking. Like if you're asking them, like if you do see them again, if they feel like they're healthier, or if it's the health practitioner that's saying, yeah, their blood sugars are a lot better, or their health is better, or so. I mean, because that's going to be your healthcare administration. If they're going home, how is it? I mean, if you get permission from them to be able to, I mean, what is it that you're measuring, and how can you follow up?
That's the thing, is it wouldn't be like patients with particularly like not just diabetics per se, it'd be probably a range. And so it would just be whether my intervention was, like, did it change anything, you know, for better, for worse, you know, I don't know, something like that that could be used, that also the business could use as like a selling point, cause that would tie into the healthcare administration. But I don't know, there's still, I have to speak with the dietitians and see, you know, what they're comfortable with or what their guidelines are too, because I don't wanna step on, you know, step on their toes or anything either. I have to work in conjunction with them and probably the healthcare administrator.
Cause I think one of your questions too was if I educate them, will they eat healthier snacks? Cause that's something that they have more
On facility.
Yeah, on facility, so.
And that ranges from facility to facility too, you know, so it's kind of finding the right place and the right patients too, you know.
Cause it's possible if you could get a handful of patients that they let you get a hold of them after they go home, or they frequent the place. They don't live there a lot, but they're there a couple times. I mean, but who plans on being there a lot?
And that's, yeah, that's the only thing that the reason why Stonehenge is attractive is because they're only, well, 3/4 to, or 2/3, well, it's about 3/4 of the patients at Point right now need to be Medicare insured. But just because they're gonna be there for the 20 to 30 days and then out doesn't mean they're going home necessarily, just could mean they're going to a longer term care facility. So yeah, there's a lot of stipulations that I still gotta figure out. And that's just comes down to talking with the dietitian, I think, and the administrator.
Yeah. Cause I mean, there's ideas or new educational things that someone else is doing and it's having a lot of success, but they're not having the time yet to put it to use, and so they could have you do it, you know. So that's a part of getting a hold of like Joan Thompson, and she could know those kinds of things because maybe she just got back from a conference, or you know, those sorts of.
I talked to her and shared the idea, and she thought it was a good idea, but
Yeah.
more than that, didn't really give me a whole lot, I guess.
Yeah. But again, just talking with people and.
Right. Keep in
So-
constant contact.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Pretty-
good. Hopefully,
Pretty close with Joan Corey. It's just the zoology professor I've always taught. I met and asked her if she'd be interested in